Josh Project Man. Today we're back again with another video. Hold on. Wait. Testing. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if y'all heard me earlier, but we'll do it again. Yo, what's good, Josh Project Man? Today we're back again with another video. This is going to be, because it switched to my stuff. I got my earbuds in, but I'm actually gonna do the WWE's official predictions. You know what I'm saying, for Backlash. I think the Backlash card is complete, if I'm not mistaken. This should be already done with already, but I got a website pulled up right now, making sure I get all the matches. So it seems to be about 5 matches on this card. So we're gonna go ahead and book, or I say book. We're gonna go ahead and see what the booking is gonna be like here. So we're gonna start off with, what's a good thing to start off with? Let's go honestly with the non-title match. Starting off with Pat McAfee versus Gunther. Now look, say what you want about Pat McAfee. I know some people may think that he's kind of annoying on the microphone because maybe he's a little too animated, maybe he's a little too over the top and stuff like that, which, you know, I could understand. Everybody has their perspective, you know, so I could understand why some people might think that, but I actually enjoy him on, you know, I think he brings some nice energy and life to the commentary table, you know what I'm saying? But that being said, though, and I know some of y'all gonna hate to hear this, but man, the guy cuts a better promo than got done 80% of the roster. I'm gonna be honest with you, like 80, bro. Pat McAfee, if you think, when you've heard it, like 75 to 80% of the roster can't even cut the same like passionate and like attention grabbing, captivating promo that Pat McAfee's been doing. You know what I'm saying? I know some people don't want to admit that, but bro, he's been doing great, you know, from him saying, you know, how he grew up and how, you know, he got to where he is and how, you know, he dreamed about wrestling, wanted to be a wrestler, like how Gunther wanted to be a wrestler, but their paths were, you know, obviously different and stuff like that. And basically telling Gunther off and saying that, you know, and how this story started was just very interesting to me. Like, you know, obviously he was getting essentially upset with what commentary was saying, but then having the story of, like, you know, as commentators, you know, we get to express how we feel, say what we want to say, and, you know, at the end of the day, we're just calling out the truth, you know? So Pat McAfee, I love how he stood up for himself, basically saying, like, you know, you're basically going to be underestimating me like how you did with Jay, like how you did with Sammy. The same thing's going to happen with me, basically saying how he's going to beat Gunther and stuff like that. But nah, he got upset, he got passionate, and he got the match got done going. He even called Gunther soft, you know what I'm saying? And Gunther, you know, from last week said he was going to freaking mangle him and destroy him, and got done. Only the grace of God is going to be able to relieve the hold that I'm going to have around your neck and stuff like that, you know, so it was freaking crazy. But, you know, that's how this whole feud started and stuff like that, so it was a pretty interesting route for Gunther to go, because, you know, obviously, I will say, it would have been interesting if we would have got a Gunther AJ Styles feud, as far as like what is another like top baby face for Gunther to face. It would have been cool if he would have been able to go against AJ Styles. That could have been a match of the year contender. But I understand that Gunther doesn't lose really much, if ever, it seems. So that being said, I can understand why they would want to do a feud where, like, this is somebody that, Pat McAfee's over with the crowd. They chant his name and everything, so he's over with the crowd. You know, he has great energy, great passion, you know, and, you know, he has that realism, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Pat McAfee is just being himself and all that. So I think Gunther's going to win here. And like I said, it would have been cool if they would have maybe done a him and AJ Styles feud, but I understand why they didn't, because if you think about it, it would have been great to see that feud, and obviously banger of a match it would have been. But the thing is, Gunther doesn't really lose, and AJ is the opposite, loses a good bit. So I understand why you probably wouldn't have booked that match, just because they kind of both can't afford to lose there. Because we all know once Gunther takes a loss, that's the WWE's way of saying, like, yeah, it's going to be a minute till you see this guy lose again. That's funny that Gunther, since he's been on the main roster, that's crazy when you think about it. Anytime he has lost on the main roster, if I'm not mistaken, I think all the times that Gunther has lost on the main roster has all been his only loss. Funny enough, it's the opposite of the Undertaker effect, because Gunther is a dominant guy, but you notice how he has I think he's only lost at WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because he lost the Intercontinental Championship and he lost the World Heavyweight Championship. So I think that's the only time Gunther's lost, is when he lost the title. I think Jay and Sammy are the only people who have beaten Gunther on the main roster. So that being said, it's crazy. It's like the reverse Undertaker. Like, He only loses at WrestleMania. Not saying he loses all his WrestleManias, but if you think about it, he lost at WrestleMania 40, and now to Sammy, and then right after lost to Jey Uso at WrestleMania 41. So it's just kind of crazy to think that like he's taking back-to-back losses at WrestleMania, and those are also his only losses in WWE's main roster. But anyway, Gunther obviously needs this win, to establish that dominance again. And like I said, Pat is a harmless guy to beat as far as like, Pat's not bad in the ring, man. He's got good athleticism and stuff like that. And obviously they know it's easy. Again, like I said, he, is loved by the crowd, and they know that Gunther could just, make an example out of Pat McAfee. So I think it should be a nice match. That's probably going to really Gunther can get the best out of everybody. So it should be a nice match that should help reestablish Gunther's credibility, because that's kind of what they essentially do every time he loses a match. Every time Gunther loses a match, man, they get right back on it to establishing his credibility. So I understand why you're going against Pat McAfee. I think they've done a good job getting you interested in it, as far as like a commentator. Because again, Pat McAfee's an athlete and stuff like that, so he's not a typical commentator like a Michael Cole, where he's not gonna put on a good match. But anyway, I'm going Gunther to win this. Like I said, Pat McAfee is a guy that the crowd loves and is easily somebody he could beat. And again, he's an athlete, so it's not like it's just a regular schmegular commentator he's beating up. So anyway, moving on to the next match, the Intercontinental Championship, Dominic Mysterio versus Penta El Zero Miedo, you know what I'm saying? That Zero Miedo and all that good stuff. Or wait, is it? Yeah, Zero Miedo, you know what I'm saying? We know the deal, you know what I'm saying? So Dominic has been getting a good bit of cheers as of recently. Maybe some people just feel like it's cool to see his rise. Maybe he's just been a heel long enough. Maybe the Judgment Day has been treating him not so kindly. You know what I'm saying? Maybe those all could be contributing factors why they cheer Dominic a little bit. And obviously they've been with Penta, and that's really cool to see how much they've taken to Penta, because a lot of us were like, man, all these masked luchadors come in, and the only thing you could think is Rey Mysterio, you know what I'm saying? As far as like crowd acceptance, because when you look at the crowds, if you look at every masked wrestler they've brought in, like they've all tried to, it's so many times they tried to recreate Rey Mysterio, so it's cool when you see the crowd is finally into like a different luchador wearing a mask and stuff like that. So Penta's been cool. He's been pretty impressive. I think he's only had like one loss in the whole company. I think, I think he's only got pinned once. I think he's only got pinned like one time. So, I don't know, man, because I guess you could say they've protected Penta for a good little minute, but obviously they're not going to make him like the second coming of like a Gunther or a Roman Reigns. So if you were asking me, I'm probably going to go with Mr. Dominic Mysterio, because I just don't see a reason why we need to immediately give Penta the Intercontinental Championship, And, I think I guess you could say the initial story was, Penta was going to be recruited to be the other member in the Judgment Day, which leads me to think that, like, I wonder if they're still doing that story of, like, adding a new member, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're still keeping that story up, but I know Penta was one of the, early guys they tried to add into the group, but, I'm going Dominic to win this thing, man. I don't think there's a reason why he needs to lose so quickly, even if he does it in cheating fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think there's a reason why he needs to lose right now. So if it's up to me and what I think they're going to do, I think they're probably going to have Dominic win here. He won it at WrestleMania. So to lose it at the next PLE, I just don't know. I don't think they're going to do that to good old Dominic. So I got Dominic beating Penta. Like that's most likely in cheating fashion. They want to still protect him, you know what I'm saying, all that good stuff. Now as we move on to the other Intercontinental Championship match, because now there's a women's one, it is Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. I was thinking it was clear cut, like, okay, obviously Lyra's winning, but I don't know, man. And now here's what I can see. I could see this. I could see like Becky is about to beat her, but then a Bayley returns to cost her the match. That's kind of how I see this playing out. That way you give Becky a little bit of an out. Now some people are saying like, okay, Becky's winning, which honestly I can see that. So this was kind of tougher. I don't know, man. This was kind of tougher because, and they've been doing a nice little story. You know what I'm saying? It's cool to see Becky Lynch, so who someone's a top female main eventer and things of that nature, giving spotlight to a different scene. Because obviously we know that she could easily be in the world title picture, but it's cool to see her do something different, going up against, helping out another, talent and stuff like that, having a feud with her. So basically saying that she's not in the wrong because of how all those times that Damage Control attacked her, like, just a year and a half ago, and she ain't forgot about that and things of that nature. So you can tell Triple H loves the theme of, having the heel have a reason why he doing what he doing. You know what I'm saying? So what she's doing. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm predicting maybe that Lyra wins because of Bayley interfering in the match. That's what I am going to predict, go with. But I'm not gonna be shocked if Becky wins. I'm gonna be honest. I can see them having Becky win, maybe to help get, maybe help get the title over a little more, to then drop it right back to her or something like that. But I don't know, man. But who's to say that maybe this feud doesn't extend? Maybe she loses the first time and then gets it back in the rematch. I could also see that. So this one has a lot of different possibilities. I'm gonna be honest. Man. Yeah, I don't know. I might go with Lyra to win. I can see Becky winning though. See, obviously, when you do these predictions, you're trying to go with what you think the company might do. And that was Lyra's. And Lyra. For those who don't know, I haven't really been the biggest fan of Lyra as far as just like she's fine in the ring, but I just have never gotten her gimmick. It's funny they call her the Bird Girl. It's funny. I was saying that before they even started. She started even talking about that, but yeah, I just didn't really get her gimmick. I don't get what her gimmick is supposed to be, but she's shown a little bit of personality over these last 2 weeks against Becky, saying that that she beat her for the NXT Women's Championship, which I had forgot about that. I was like, oh yeah, she sure did. She has technically already beaten Becky before. She beat her for the NXT Women's Championship. And how Lyra said that she's the first women's Intercontinental Champions, so it's killing Becky for once that she wasn't the first this time, because she was the first main event WrestleMania, first SmackDown champion, but she doesn't get to be the first champion for the Intercontinental Women's Championship. And that she's basically gonna, she said that she was gonna, as long as Becky's back, enjoy being number 2, you know what I'm saying? So she showed a little bit more fire, you know what I'm saying? Love to see it, man. Showed a little more fire ass, no Brent fire ass, you know what I'm saying? Showed a little more fire, you know what I mean? So that being the case, I don't know, man. I'm spending a lot of time on this because I don't know. I could see them having Becky win it to maybe help get more heat on herself and maybe get the title more over. But do they save a Bayley return for later? I don't know. Either way, you know what? Let's just go with Lyra. Let's go with Lyra. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, I don't know, bro. There's only 5 matches, so I don't even have much room to be wrong. So I'm like, oh shoot, Lyra winning. Could see that because of a Bayley return. Well, it is a PLE, so it makes sense that you would want to do something. A return like that would be nice. Well, maybe you could go with that because then Becky, as a heel, could complain and whine and moan and say that I didn't even lose fairly. She didn't even really beat me. That could be a thing. So yeah, let's go with Lyra. If it ends up being Becky, we'll take the hit. But I think maybe a returning Bayley is why she retains. So that, it gives Becky a out and a reason to have a gripe over it. You know what I'm saying? But the next match, we going to hit them up with Jacob Fatu, Mr. Yada I mean, Mr. All Gas, No Brakes, Mr. I'm, keeping it 100, Mr. I'm going to do it with you or without you. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff. Jacob Fatu, the United States champion, versus LA Knight, versus Damian Priest, versus Drew McIntyre. Jacob Fatu is obviously retaining because they're obviously trying to build him, which they've been doing a nice job of beating him or building him and promoting him and presenting him as a dominant goddamn beast that is has scary athleticism and obviously has more than a convincing deranged look. You know what I'm saying? So obviously to further build him as that Samoan warrior, but as that, monster of the division, I think they're going to have him retain here, man. Jacob is obviously a great wrestler. He's been doing great in the ring, been doing great on character work, been doing great on promos. The crowd's chanting 5-2, has been getting himself over. And which is what you're supposed to do, you know what I'm saying? So the push has been working. He's been doing great. I think they should keep him as the U.S. champ so that by the time somebody beats him, it really means something, you know what I'm saying? Because they're obviously building Jacob as that next beast. Not like the next Brock, but you could say the next Brock Lesnar as far as just being a dominant beast that is not probably going to get beat often. Same with Braun Breaker, right? A guy that they're going to build as a beast that doesn't get beat like often, right? Like loses more than a Gunther would, but doesn't get beat just like often. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to continue to build Jacob up. I don't know who takes the pin in this. Maybe Damian Priest. Maybe not because he just lost at WrestleMania, but they're not going to pin Drew because why would you do that? And I don't know. Maybe they could have Damian take the pin here because maybe they don't want him to pin LA Knight again because then that kind of gives him nothing to say on the microphone if he loses to him again. So I doubt that. Drew, I don't know what that. Yeah, it probably is going to be Priest. I think Priest has to be the odd man out here. Drew's been hot as a heel. LA Knight is still hot as a face. And to kind of keep that momentum up, you wouldn't want to have him get pinned. Jacob's just going to win anyway. And Damian, I don't know. I mean, if we're also being fair and honest, even though Damian's been world champion and LA Knight hasn't, I think we can all agree that, Damian is the least over in this match. LA Knight is getting the nice reactions. Jacob's obviously gotten himself over. Drew's been killing it and is easily the top heel in the company. So that being said, it's just I think he's probably the least popular in this fatal four-way. So I think that is going to be a contributing factor as to whether or not he's going to take the pin. Yeah, I think it's going to probably be him. It's going to probably be Jacob pinning Damian. We know Jacob's winning, but I'm trying to think who he would pin. I don't know. But, yeah, I could see him maybe pinning Priest, even though Priest just lost at WrestleMania. I could see him maybe pinning him. But, yeah, they're going to keep building Jacob up as they should, you know what I'm saying, as the goddamn wild factor, as the goddamn deranged man. That is going to be something the goddamn have to put up with, And this is good for the United States Championship as well. Not only to have someone that's over holding the championship, but somebody that we know hasn't even lost yet since being on the main roster. So I think that does wonders for the U.S. title. So having dominant, and I think this could be a match of the night contender if everything goes well, if the chemistry lines up. This could also be a match of the night contender. But let's do this thing. I'm sorry I held you. The main event for the undisputed WWE Championship. No longer the WWE Universal Championship. You remember they used to have the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion. They used to say all of that. Now it's just plain and simple. Undisputed WWE Championship. Two of the guys I grew up on, two GOATs in the game that I grew up on. This is essentially my Rock and Austin when I was growing up. This was as in the two biggest stars in the industry going at it. And that is John Cena versus Randy Orton. Now we've seen this match 10,000 times over. You know what I'm saying? But this is the first time we're seeing it with both of these guys. This is the first time we're seeing it where both of these guys are big superstars, and specifically, John is the heel, Randy Orton's the face. This is the first time we've seen. This will be the first time ever in WWE that we'll see this match with John as the heel and Randy as the face. Obviously, this has been probably the most over Randy Orton's been maybe as a face since the RK Bro days. That's probably the only thing you can rival this to. But yeah, he's been over as a face. To me, this is probably the most over Randy Orton's been as a face. Not even what he did in the 2000s. I think he got kicked out of Evolution and stuff like that. He was a face there. I remember that didn't really, or I say I remember, I wasn't there, but I seen it. You know what I'm saying? And he was a face a little bit here and there throughout the 2010s, here and there. Trust when I say here and there, not he was mostly a heel, but here and there he was a face. But this easily is the most over that Randy Orton has been as a babyface like ever. With them singing the song and all this other type of stuff, like singing his theme song. This is easily the most this is the most over Randy Orton has been specifically as a babyface, even though we know he's better as a heel. And I think with all that being said, and John Cena being a heel, first time ever since the Thugonomic days before he was even established as a main eventer. This is the first time him being a heel as a main eventer. So, and in 20 plus years and all that. So, that being said, I'm going with John Cena, man. We've seen this war a million goddamn times. Like I said, this is like my Rock and Austin as far as when I was growing up. Like, these were the two. If it wasn't Cena and Punk, these easily was like the two top guys in the company going back and forth multiple times, which is crazy. That you would think that they would have had a WrestleMania match, but they haven't. I think they had like a triple threat with Triple H, but they've never had a one-on-one at WrestleMania, which is crazy when you think about it because of how big of a star they are and how many times they've wrestled each other, and it's not one time been at WrestleMania. But like I said, seeing this match 1,000 times, I don't think they're gonna, even though it's gonna be in Orton's backyard, his hometown, St. Louis, Missouri at Backlash, I still think that Cena gets the win here because obviously it's his first title defense. And I think I predict that this heel run will continue, because people were like, he has a lot of dates. John Cena does have a lot of dates post WrestleMania. He has a lot of dates lined up and stuff like that. And I think that's for this world title reign, so that we know he's gonna be there to build up stories and have these PLE matches and all this other type of stuff. So I think to further cement this heel run, which has been kind of rocky. It's not been bad. It's not been bad at all. I've loved the promos and everything. I mean, from Randy Orton and John Cena having promo shares, some, John, you need some goddamn kids. It would humble you, and it would make you who you really are again. You know what I'm saying? So they've been doing a great job of building this. This is some of the best promo work that Randy Orton's done, saying that you're not going to erase my family's legacy. You know what I'm saying? They worked hard for it, and it's the reason why I can goddamn eat and all this other type of stuff. And, he did a good promo last Friday when he went in on him, on his own, and said that you can't knock the hustle, but where's the loyalty and all this other type of stuff. Yeah, he really just going in on John Cena's character. That was funny when he said he said that he's gonna punt his Lego shaped head off his shoulders. That's funny. Cena does low-key got a Lego shaped head. But yes, my childhood GOAT, John Cena, man. First time as a third GOAT of all time, only behind Stone Cold and Rock. But anyway, I think John Cena is going to get the win here, like I said, because you want to really solidify this title reign. And I think this heel run will, now that, I hate to say this for my GOAT, but my GOAT of all time, now that The Rock is not involved in any of Cena's creative at the moment. Hate to be like that, but it's, got to call spade a spade. Now that he's not involved in it, I think we can really put a lot of fun and focus on these single stories, like no Rock involvement, just these single stories like John and Randy. Maybe we get a run back of John and Punk at some point, going down memory lane and maybe mixing that with some newer talents as well. So yeah, I got John Cena retaining, like I said, to really solidify this heel run, because he's only here for one more year. This last year, this year is his last year, so it makes sense that they're not gonna have him lose the title that fast. Because honestly, it almost kind of makes it seem like, it almost to me feels like whenever he loses this championship is when he's probably gonna be a face. Like whenever he loses the championship, he's probably gonna be a face again. So if it were me, I'm doing Summer of Cena. I would have him hold this title through the whole summer. Like maybe you could have him drop it at like a SummerSlam. I don't think there's any rush. We've seen John Cena as a face for so long, so I don't think there's any rush to drop the belt. If it were me, I'm having Cena hold it for the summer. Like I said, up until maybe like a SummerSlam or something close to that is when I would have him maybe drop that championship, if I even were to do that. But anyway, and then he'll probably become a face after that and realize the error of his ways, that type of thing. But that is who I got, man. John Cena retaining the WWE Championship. Jacob Fatu retaining the United States Championship. Lyra Valkyria retaining the Intercontinental Women's Championship. Dominic Mysterio retaining his Intercontinental Championship. and Gunther beating Pat McAfee. Looks like a nice card. It should be a fun card. You know, Becky and Lyra mixed it up pretty well in NXT, so it should be a pretty good match. That Fatal 4-Way should be nice and chaotic. You know what I'm saying? They've done a nice build. I like the LA Knight back and forth with Damian that they did, you know, with him. I'm trying to think of what they said. They had a nice back and forth, just taking those jabs at each other last week when they started off SmackDown, you know what I'm saying? So this has been some fun build as well, you know what I'm saying? So fun build. So all these matches have had pretty, Dominic and Pencil's probably the only one that hasn't had, like, the strong build. But other than that, you know, these matches have all been built up. So anyway, I got pretty much all the champions retaining. I think Lyra is the only one that actually is in jeopardy of any kind of losing a championship. Everybody else, I feel like they're retaining. But love and appreciate you guys. Y'all let me know in the comment section down below what your predictions is and why do you feel so strongly in that prediction. But we just going to keep doing our thing, doing it well. Y'all run up the likes, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. Because at the end of the day, what can I say? It is what it is. And what it's going to be is this Prodigy continue to come out with the content, the videos, the bangers, and the consistency, you know what I'm saying? I applied for Streamer University. For those who don't know, it's a little thing going on with Kai, you know what I'm saying? Big time streamer. He got, you know, people getting opportunities, stuff like that. I submitted my form and all that. You know, whether we get accepted or not, grind gonna stay the same, and we're gonna keep doing our thing and doing it well, man. So y'all just keep, like I said, hitting up the socials, man. Post notification bell to know the second a video drops. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be the first one right there front and center, because we are building this channel as a unit, and, you know, we're doing our thing and doing it well, man. See y'all in the next video, man. That is the vibe that DJ's on.